Welcome back to the Fulfilled Female Entrepreneur Podcast. It's your host, Cassandra Rosa. I'm a certified coach and healer and intuitive business coach, and the mission behind all that I do is to help you to create a fulfilling life and business. I'm so excited to have Katy Murray join me on the podcast today, talking about how to give your social media pages a refresh. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm so excited to have Katy here today. We just recorded an episode on her podcast, and it was so much fun. We went so deep in our discussion, and now I'm excited to get to know her a little bit more in her journey. I'm going to leave all the links for all the beautiful ways for you to connect with her, and she's so graciously creating a beautiful freebie for you all, so check that out in the description of this video. I'm really excited to introduce you to Katy Murray. She's a business owner, entrepreneur, and executive of human resources at a private organization, a mother and a wife. Receiving multiple awards and recognition on her photography talent, Katy's images have been featured in over 30 publications. Now co-founder of Katy & Co. VA, Katy helps other businesses grow and meet their success. She's been a guest speaker at multiple universities on high-ranking podcasts and is the host of her own Ginger Biz. On her podcast, she shares all the tips and tricks to be successful in business while also working full-time, living on her sweet family, and practicing self-care to maintain her sanity. She's a fun-loving business guru who wants to share her passion with the world. You can connect with her on all the socials, on Instagram, on Facebook, and definitely go show some love to her podcast as well. Thanks again for coming on. I'm so excited to just learn more about this very timely topic, about just going deeper online, being more authentic, and kind of refreshing what you have and incorporating more of the authentic you online. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show. And it's so fun to swap episodes. So this is going to be awesome.
Yes, I'm excited. And I want to know what fulfillment means to you.
Great question. And I feel like to answer that the best, I think of my endeavors as a triangle. So I'm the head of human resources at a private organization. I run Katy & Co., a virtual assisting firm for other businesses. I have a podcast, and I still dabble in photography for brand photos. And so for me, that's a triangle, and the center of it is helping others. So for me, my fulfillment is just really helping others and leaning into helping them be the best version of themselves. And that plays out in so many different ways. But for businesses, it's me really just taking the time to encourage and be a pocket cheerleader and show up for them so that they have that confidence to know what they're doing is worthwhile, and, giving them the support and areas that they can use to be successful. And then in my HR role is just being there for the team members and for the managers and being a nucleus so that they can focus on what their expertise are while I focus on supporting them as humans. And so that, I think, is where my major fulfillment in a professional sense comes from. It does trickle over into my family. I absolutely love spending quality time with my husband and kid and our puppos, and just spending time with them. And again, though, kind of goes back to the people side. I love the people.
Yes, you can tell that. I could tell that in the conversation that we had. And I love, it's so visual what you do, having that triangle image of how all those beautiful pieces all are connected with service. And I can definitely feel that in our brief interaction, that is something that drives you so deeply. And it was interesting. We went so deep in our conversation on your podcast, and you have this expertise when it comes to content and coming to social media, and this whole concept of going deeper and just sharing more and being more authentic online. Because we were talking about, there's so many trends that happen online in the social media space, in the coaching and the entrepreneurial space, of these highlight reels of all the achievements and how much money you make and all the client wins. But there's often so much more that's going on behind the scenes, in which there would be so much more connection and so much breakthroughs and inspiration for people from receiving that on the other end. So with all that being said, that's kind of my perspective on it, but I would love to know why you think that this is an important topic to focus on today in this episode, this whole kind of idea of showing up with more authenticity and raw and realness online.
Yeah, I ran into a time in my life where I couldn't be that highlight reel all the time. I struggled to post because, like, so my example is I do work full time. And so I'm not really on social media as much during the daytime because I'm working and I love what I do. Like, I have been in positions where I could not work full time and the business would sustain us, but that's just not where I'm at in life. But one of those things back in the day for me was not posting when I was at work. I didn't want people to think that I was distracted or not into my business. And so what kept happening for me was I was like hiding my day job, hiding the fact that I got up early and got ready to go and left the house and did all these things. So I would create so much content on the weekend that it looked like I was working from home and just focusing on the business, because at the time in my life, it felt like everyone was quitting their day job to be an entrepreneur, and that was the badge of honor, but I didn't want to do that. And so the realization came when both of my worlds collided. In the organization I worked for, a fellow entrepreneur was in the area, and so she's like, "Can I swing by?" And like, I think she brought me lunch or something. Super sweet of her. But she was like, "I didn't realize you were in person at your job. Like, I knew you worked, but I thought you were like working from home." And I was like, "Oh yeah." She's like, "You just do such a good job balancing it and all of your posts and stuff." And I was like, "That's weird because, like, this is a huge part of me." And so that's when I kind of took pause and said, "You know what? I'm proud of what I do. I'm like a high up executive in senior level management at what I do, and I'm the head of my department and I have my team. Why do I have to hide that?" And so for
Mm,
me, that was when I took pause and said, "No, that's not what I'm going to do anymore." Now, of course, I'm human resources, so there's certain levels of conflict of interest and confidentiality. So I'm not like recording stuff in
right.
my job, but in my podcast, I've taken a very huge turn in just talking about work and letting everyone know that I'm prideful of what I do and I want to keep doing it. And so for me, that was kind of lifting the veil and letting everyone see everything, and removing the curtain and having that transparency. I have a very pivotal post when I talked about that early on. I think it was early last year, maybe even 2 years ago. So,
Mhm.
as we dive into kind of repurposing, reusing, and refreshing content for social media, I think it's huge that your listeners know that you have to take pause. And I think it's more important to have authenticity than perfectly curated content. And I think that that's a struggle. I think it's huge for a lot of people to be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, like my basement's a mess," or "My house is chaotic," or. There's so many excuses we can come up with. But if we take pause and we get real with ourselves, we're only going to create an environment and a social media page where people can relate and connect with us on such a deeper level. And like you said in our previous conversation, which you guys can hop over and listen to that one as well on my pod, is that those deeper connections are so important, I believe, nowadays, to be true to
Mhm.
ourselves, to have that intentionality. And so, with that, we can, of course, dive into specifics with this, but that's also going to be the freebie that we can link is what questions do you need to ask yourself before you hop on social media to be sure that you're being authentic and you're being true? Because at the end of the day, if you're trying to get clients from it or you're trying to build networking like communities and stuff, you don't want them to connect with this perfectly curated person, because then you show up without mascara on and they're like, "Who's this girl?" No, like, come as you are, even to social media, and share some of your hardships, share some of that vulnerability so that people can connect and relate with you.
Mhm.
And in the end, and this is not the end goal, but in the end, you're more likely to make sales with people that you're connecting with on an authentic level than just the picture perfect white everything and everything's clean and prestige.
Mm. That's so powerful and that's so true. And I'm thinking about all the people that I've invested in is because of their, I don't know if the word is vulnerability, but their realness and how
Mhm.
they're sharing that authentically. So for people that are like, okay, like I want to connect deeper with my audience, but they have all their buts and they have like their fears of showing up that way or not looking perfect like all these Instagram models that are online or having that courage because it takes a lot of courage to share about some of the deeper things that are going on in their lives. How have you in your own life overcame those buts? or whatever butts that you had that were stopping you from showing up fully and raw and real online?
That's a great, great question. I think a lot of it is just taking a deep breath and just getting real with yourself. For me, I can
Mhm.
think of like one time I was taking pictures on a boat dock and my husband took a video of me, just like it wasn't even intentional or anything. And the first thing I looked at was like my body, it's changed. Like I have a kid now, I'm much older, I've gained weight, my body has changed. Also, not just in a weight standpoint, but like physically, it's just changed, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, I don't want to post that. Like, that's so silly. Like, I look so goofy. And then I was like, you know what? I can't remember the last time, if ever, that I looked at an Instagram reel and was like, oh, that girl's really fat, or that girl's really this, or that girl, she's changed so much. A decade ago, she was skinnier. Like, I've never had those thoughts of someone else. So why am I projecting that they're going to have those thoughts of me? So I posted it.
Mhm.
And I have to bring myself back to that reality often. Um, there's a reel that actually did really, really well on my page that was me working on a DIY wood project that I was doing. And it didn't even really have anything to do with business. But the voiceover of the gal, and I wish I knew her name, she does a lot of voiceovers and like reads kind of almost poems. She kind of spoke to exactly that. She's like, I don't remember the last time I was at the beach and I judged a girl for the swimsuit she was wearing,
Mhm.
or the last time that I made a decision on a friendship based on someone's weight, whether they were too skinny or too chubby. And she just talks about that. And what I realized with that is at first I was nervous to post it because it has nothing to do with business. My podcast is all about business. My social media is all about business. But then what I realized was it's about showing up and being relatable. And
Right.
I took that down, like took down the barrier and the excuse of like, where does this bring them back to business? Where it brings them back to business is they're connecting with me and I want them to work with my
Right.
business. So you got to humanize it. You have to slow
Mhm.
down. And I believe you give what you get. So if I'm only posting surface level content, I'm only going to get surface level responses. Like,
Right.
oh, girlfriend, I like your sweater. Or, oh, what a cute DIY thing you did. But if I'm putting quality, intentional, authenticity on authentic, I keep messing up that word, authentic content, they're going to connect on such a deeper level. And that was something I found in my motherhood journey. I struggle with like wanting to always wear the motherhood hat. Like I was very
Mhm.
adverse to switching my identity to mom because I'm such a powerhouse of a woman in my day job and I run this, business that's making six figures and doing all this that like, but now I'm a mom. And I realized no, that's something to be proud of that I'm able to be a mother and do those things. And
Right.
so that was another barrier that I was like, you know what? You just got to live in the present. You got to just embrace the present. And so to go back full circle to actually answer your question is just give yourself pause, give yourself grace, and then hit post. Because
Mhm.
I can guarantee, and we hear this everywhere, that your next reel is sitting in your phone right now. And for me, that was a video of me brushing my hair and my daughter mimicking me. Like, it wasn't perfect lighting. It wasn't the perfect setup. My bathroom is not this crazy, gorgeous, luxurious thing, but it was me, and that's who I want to connect with. And so I think just taking that pause and allowing yourself to be vulnerable in the sense of posting something that might be your not norm because you're making this transition, just do it, enjoy it, and embrace it.
I love that. Yeah, that breath I think is important, right? And remembering that we're projecting our fears onto things that probably aren't going to happen, I think
Mhm.
is really huge to think too, right? Like, think about how much when you're scrolling, how many different reels you're going through at a time, or posts that you're seeing, or stories that you're seeing. I don't think someone is going to sit there and just ruminate in something about you. And if they do, that says more about them than it says about you,
Mhm.
right? So, with that being said, if they're listening and they're like, yeah, I want to go deeper, I want to go more raw. I do want to go more real, but how do I do that? How do I take that first step? What would you say?
I think it's tricky. I think first you want to take pause and find your why. Why do you want to go deeper? Is it because
Mhm.
of like we're discussing, like you want to be more relatable or you want to provide a space for someone to connect with you. Okay, then once you figure out your why, then you can lean into your how. And your how is just going back through your camera roll or your video feed and seeing what you already have that's there. I'm a huge component of repurposing, reusing, and refreshing. And with that, you repurpose it. Maybe it was just a core memory that you had that you really enjoyed it. Put it out there, like try it and put some words over it and play with it. Um, or you have maybe an older reel that did well and you want to reuse it, change what you overlay on it or change the caption so that you can make it more relatable. Maybe it's just like you videotaping yourself. I have like a setup that I can videotape myself when we're making these, podcasts.
Mhm.
And originally I'll overlay it with very business centric information. But instead, take that voiceover of the gal explaining why it's okay to be overweight or underweight or to do
Mhm.
these things and use that to be vulnerable. So there's a lot of different areas that you can kind of dive into it. It just depends on your comfort level. And you don't have to do this. It's not like you don't have to wake up tomorrow and just all of a sudden have a feed that's completely curated in the sense of being just like so authentic that you lose your branding. You can still be true to your branding and you can still really speak to your business while also navigating the other aspect of being able to connect with you and being vulnerable and being real. Not everything has to be perfect.
Yes, that's so important. And I love that of reusing what you already have and just pivoting it and shifting it in a way that may be fresh and new for people. And for this whole concept you're saying of your three R's, you have this refresh piece. So, how would you recommend that people refresh their page with this new, authentic, raw, going deep lens? What are some things to focus on a page overall to kind of achieve that result?
I think you can do an overhaul. It can be as much or as little as you want. And that can be updating your headshot to something, you know, I'll speak from personal experience, something that's me today. My cheeks might be a little bit rounder than they used to be in an older headshot, but just putting that out there, like, who cares? And
Mhm.
also taking off the societal forced cosmetic sort of things. So with that, like who cares if your cheeks are more round or who cares if it's outdated in the outfit that you're wearing. Like put something up that you love and you can go as deep as reevaluating your bio and making sure that it's just speaking to who you are as a human versus who you are as a curated brand while still being true to your brand. Or it could be just sprinkling a couple new reels in there and a couple new posts to keep your feed refreshed in the sense of being that more authentic side of you without having everything curated. And then also you can branch even further. Like I know that some people use the Linktree um, links to build out and just making that page more welcoming in some regards. So it really depends on how deep you want to go with it. For me, with the refreshes, I change my bio periodically to fit what I'm currently kind of working on or doing. And then also updating captions as you post things. Again, you can reuse stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't want to like post the same thing over and over and over, of course, but a reel that you used 20 weeks ago can still be relevant today, and then just refresh it with a different overlay. So again, lots of different options there, but I think the most important thing is being intentional and being why do you want to do the refresh and what do you hope to accomplish with it, and then building it out from there. I know that some people it can
Yes.
be as big as changing their handle to be more appropriate for what they're currently offering or what they want to be. And some people it could be as simple as changing your headshot or changing your most recent posts as well.
I love that. It can be simple, and I really love how you were saying it starts with the why before the how, and you can go simple and deep at the same time and then expand and go bigger from there. I was kind of seeing this image of like a ripple effect, right? Of like you can continue to make it a gradual process. It doesn't have to be a snap of your fingers and you have a whole new social media page, which is such a powerful message, I think, because it might feel daunting for people. So making it as small as possible in those incremental steps, I think, would be huge. And if they're listening and they're saying, you know what, I'm like so resonating with you, your energy, your vibe, where's the best place that they can connect with you to learn about all that you do and tune into your podcast?
Yeah, great question. So, one other thing I will add to that, though I
Yeah.
didn't touch on stories, is if
Yeah.
someone is like, I don't know if I'm ready for that, post to your stories. It disappears
Mm,
anyways. So that was the one element that I wanted to add in there. If you're a
yes,
little
please.
uncertain, just start to post to your stories and see how people resonate with that and how they connect with you. And you might see the more authentic you are in stories, especially, will get that engagement because people are going to connect with you more organically then. So if you're at all nervous and it is very daunting to make these changes, just step into stories for a little bit. And again, worst case scenario, you get nervous, you get cold feet, you can delete it and there's no harm, no foul. But the one thing for your listeners, I would say, I challenge you to go in right now and post what you're doing. Like,
Yes.
just Google one of those like challenges of what to post for a month and then follow that even. I think it would be really
Mhm.
fun and an easy transition. But going back to your
I love
question,
that.
everyone can link up with me on my website, which is katyandcova.com. That's katyandcova.com. Or over on Instagram at katyandco.va. Or the most used Instagram that I have is gingerbiz. So GINGERBIZ. I'm a redhead, so ginger biz. And they can connect with me there, shoot me a DM. We can even chit chat back and forth about like what they could post or whatever. And I'll definitely check out their stories to interact there. But if anyone wants to reach out or needs tips or tricks, happy to show up for them.
I love that. You're such an awesome person, Katy. It's been so good connecting with you, hearing about your story, all your wisdom, and I love how tangible and simple and all the plethora of different ideas that you've shared for people that would be easy to implement. So, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure spending the evening with you, and this was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I'll upload a new video on Thursday. See you in the next one. Bye.